Aiming for number one, yeah, I'm a chart topper. I'm hitting home runs. I'm such a showstopper, shining like a diamond. Blessings right on the horizon. Only see that silver lining. Yeah, this must be perfect timing. Good energy, always taking over me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode from Broke to Millions, baby, where you are one big deal away, man. Today, we're talking to one of my students, my man Tom, in the building, man. Tom's doing some amazing things. He started off doing single family houses, right? Had about 13 of them. Then he jumped in and got over 650 units in multifamilies, right? All the way out to Alaska. Then he's got 1,100 storage units. And then he's even jumped into an RV park. Everybody, let's give it up for my man who's balling out of control. And he just started all of this in the last 2 years, 4 years. Is that right?
2 years.
Two
2 years
years.
with the commercial.
2 years in commercial. My man, Tom. Hey, but look, guys, before we get started, man, send me your thumbs up, the hearts up, send all those different things. Let us know where you're checking in from. Check in the Zoom, the comments, YouTube. But let's get this started, man. Tom, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. It's good to see you.
That's great, man. So what were you doing before you got into all of this? Like, I mean, you and the wife, what y'all, were y'all working? Were y'all just always doing real estate?
Well, I spent 26 years in the Army, and I retired in 2019. It was about time I was going through a divorce, and that's kind of about the time I met Teresa. She'd been doing some single family homes for a while. And then I got into it. I bought a couple that I'm renting out. But in the last couple years, we've just decided that we want to scale up, and the grind's a little much with the single family. So we really wanted to kind of scale up, build something bigger for the future for ourselves, because we want to, the biggest thing is we want to own our time, want to do what we want, where we want, when we want, and how we want. And so we feel like the best path towards that is through commercial real estate.
Nice. So what was your biggest hurdles in doing this real estate? Like, how'd you make that leap? Because, like, she was a doctor, right?
Yeah, anesthesiologist. Yeah, and then so the keeping up with the single family and doing the W-2s at the same time, both of us, that's another thing. It's a big time sucker. We worked at that real hard and made it work for us, and we're still doing a little bit of that. But making that jump, the biggest thing in making the jump is having the time with the two W-2 jobs that we had. She's now left her W-2 and she's just doing part-time 1099 because we're focusing more on this. But time is really the biggest thing. I'm still a full-time W-2 job. So finding the time to put in to do it the way it needs to be done, it's a challenge. So there's a lot of late nights, some early mornings. Fortunately, my job, I'm able to break away a little bit sometimes, do a meeting, do a Zoom, whatever, have a phone call. But that's our biggest challenge.
Man, so how do you divide this up? Like, you got the wife going on. Like, do you find a deal? Does she find a deal? Are you doing the underwriting? Like, do you do the managing? Like, how do you distribute? Who does what?
Well, we're kind of a good match because I'm kind of introverted and very analytical. So I'm good at doing the underwriting and the analysis. She can talk to anybody. She's great at meeting people. So she focuses on a lot on talking to people, meeting people. She's getting real big into capital raising, some things along that line. And then we both kind of meet people through different groups or through just reaching out on email or phone calls to brokers, going to meetups, getting into groups to make the contacts that we need to get some deal flow coming in and find stuff. And we've been very fortunate. We've gotten in a couple really good groups, made some really good contacts because it's your network is your net worth. So you need to get into the right rooms to know the right people to kind of get that stuff coming to you. You want to work smart, not hard.
That's good that you mentioned that. Like, what do you feel you learned from these different groups, these different rooms you've been in? Like you said, your network is your net worth. Like, how is that? Why is that? What has happened because of your new network?
And you preached it a lot when we were going through your mastermind. Is that it's not how, it's more who, finding those people. This is doing the single family stuff. It was just us, so it was us 100% doing it. What we quickly realized is that a team sport is what commercial real estate is, because you need to be waist deep in knowing everything, but you'll get in over your head if you don't try to focus in on what you're good at. Like with me, I'm good with the underwriting because of my time in the military. I'm very analytical and I'm a problem solver. So, I like the underwriting, the due diligence, the operations and stuff like that. A lot of that comes from my past in the military and the way that I was trained and brought up. I was always taught in the Army, no plan survives first contact. So you need to think about that ahead of time and think about the branches and sequels. The branches being the directions you need to go when something doesn't go right, and the sequels being the things that can come in and screw your plan up. So you need to think about those ahead of time.
But I'm laughing because you said plans don't go right on the first contact. I think
no plan survives first contact.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's like, look, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the face.
That's it. Yeah, the best little tactical plan in the Army just goes to crap as soon as, first contact, okay, things are changing now. And that's just the way it is. So you have to think about that ahead of time. So the mindset that I got being in the Army just kind of built me perfectly for the analysis that I spent 20 years practically in the Army doing analysis for the Department of Defense at a high level.
Okay. Now, when you say you were doing analysis, like that was how to underwrite budgets for the different projects, or tell me, like, did underwriting for deals come from?
So it wasn't underwriting in the Army. It was more dealing with like equipment for the different places, finding budgeting for it, the whole cycle of them putting together the budget for the nation, and then figuring out who really, based on ages of equipment or where things were or what people were going to do what and the priorities, who should get what and where and when. And then also what units are going to go where and do what to who. So you have to think about a myriad of things. There's a lot of little pieces that go into who is the person that's ready for it and when they went last, or their readiness or the money or whatever. So it's just the analytical mindset that I've gotten inculcated in me through 20-something years of military service.
Now, tell me about this 30 unit that you JV'd on. Like, how did that come about? Where is it located? How'd you find the deal? Where did you raise money or you put money in? Tell me about that one.
So one of the groups that I'm in, actually, he's in a couple of the groups I'm in. This guy, Adam, that I know, he used to live up in Anchorage, Alaska. And he really likes it up there. He likes the cold, apparently, because he lives in the far, far north of Minnesota. Right. So I guess he likes the cold. I'm not a big fan of it. But he's been wanting to get back up that way and buy into some properties up there. And it's actually a pretty decent market. It's a large, small town, or a small, large town, depending on how you look at it. The vast majority of the people that live in Alaska live in Anchorage. And it's got a huge military base. It's a joint Air Force and Army base. It's getting bigger. It's one of the main ones that's kind of being a deterrent towards China because it's the closest one, if you think about it, over the top. So he found this 30-door property. It's a great value add opportunity. It was a mom and pop running it. They've been running it for a while and not very well. So it's the typical story you hear. It's kind of run down a little bit. The leases are a little bit out of order. claim the neighborhood that it's in used to be bad, but it's kind of getting better now. It used to be a D, now it's like a C. It probably won't go above a C, but it's a good C, solid C neighborhood. Just the building's good and solid as well. So he had found this property. We were looking to get rid of two of the properties we had, one in Richmond, one in Northern Virginia, and sell them right about the same time. So we were looking to 1031 some money into something.
Okay.
This worked out really well because he's trying to do a JV. So we got involved into it.
Tell people what a 1031 is, because not everybody knows what a 1031. Can you break that down?
So a 1031 it's a like kind exchange. It's a tax deferred exchange that allows you to defer capital gains taxes. So you buy something, you hold it for 5, 6, 7 years, it goes up in value. When you go to sell it, you have to pay taxes on the difference between what you paid for it and what you sold it for. It's considered income. By doing a 1031 exchange, you can defer that and roll that into, you're not going to ever, just get rid of it, but you can take that and roll it into another property so you're not paying the tax now. It has to be a like type exchange, something that's like a business property for a business property. You can't sell a personal house and buy a business property, or sell a business property and roll it into a vacation home. Those things don't work. And then it has to be of equal or greater value than the one that you sold. So, there's some little rules that go with it. One of the really good advantages with a 1031 is that if, let's say we have this place in Alaska for a long time, and both Teresa and I, when we pass away and our kids inherit it, the deferred capital gains from the 1031, they get erased completely. They go away. Those taxes don't ever have to get paid. What also happens is that property will get a step up in basis. We might have paid $500 for it, and now it's worth $1 million. So when they get it, the basis becomes $1 million. So they're starting from 0.0 with whatever their depreciation is. They don't even have to worry about this 500 that came down here.
Really?
So it's a great way to kind of, you don't avoid it, but you can put off paying capital gains taxes.
Nice. So now you got this deal in Alaska. How are you managing it from here? And how do you deal with repairs? Because, I got hotels in different cities, right? And even with the manager, which I expect them to have everything, they don't necessarily have everything. So I gotta send some crews out there. That's kind of hard for Alaska. So I know, so you got a strong manager, or they got roots. How are these repairs getting done?
So two of our partners live in Anchorage. One of them is like an HVAC technician. He works on boilers and stuff. Boilers are the big thing up there. They don't really have air conditioning in Alaska. They got boilers because it gets a little cold. So he's up there. And then one of the partners we brought in is a guy who's a painter. So he bought into the deal, and we gave him a little extra cheese on the deal because he's going to cut us really good prices on doing all the painting and stuff. And when you turn a unit, it's always going to be some paint going down. And he's like the best painter in Anchorage. So we have two people already that are up there. There's a third partner that got in who's in the Air Force. And he's actually, I think as we speak, driving up there to be stationed up there for 3 or 4 years. Oh, wow. So we'll have 3 people actually on the ground up there. We also have a really good property management company that's up there. It's one that the partner that found the deal, he'd used it for a single family that he had there. So they're keeping an eye on it. We have amongst the different partners, we've kind of set up different little committees of finance, asset management, building, investor relations. We have weekly because we've only owned it a little while. So we're still doing the weekly thing with this. Once we get it smoothed out a little bit, we'll ease up. But the asset manager, she has a weekly phone call with the property manager that's up there. and then we talk about it a little bit. While it's not ideal, we make it work because we do have people on the ground there, and we have people that have good experience and know what right looks like.
And so, what did you buy this for? I mean, price wise, like, what is it worth? You bought it for X. You think you're going to sell it for Y, and what is it going to cost you to get there?
So it's we've got to do some value add to it. We closed on it in mid to late September, so cold weather was already setting in. We managed to get one building really needed some paint, so we got the paint, one layer of paint on that to kind of protect it a little bit, and then we did some heavy duty fine tuning of the boilers because they were just running so inefficiently. They should run at about 90% efficiency. They were like at 70. So there was money just going out the window. So we spent some time and effort getting that straight. The tenants appreciate it because the places are a little bit warmer, doing some work to fix up.
Appreciate that in Alaska.
Oh yeah. We're doing a lot of like weather stripping and sealing up of the place, kind of close up, because that's a lot of money that goes out the door with the heat. And then some fixing up and stuff that we're going to do. One of the biggest things is kind of cleaning up the tenant base. They had let it kind of slide a little bit, and there was a little bit of riffraff. So we're fixing that up a little bit and spending some time and effort to get a little bit higher quality people in there to kind of improve the facility. And at the same time, we're trying to bump rents accordingly because we're trying to make the place a little bit nicer. So
what do you think you can push the rents to?
They were pretty far under. So we're thinking we can get about a $250 bump.
Nice.
Rent's not super cheap up there, but it's not terrible. We're getting 16, 17. There's a bunch of 3-2s and some 2-2s and some 1-1s.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So I guess you mentioned you had partners, but that was a JV, which is a little difference between a GP and an LP. Like general partners, limited partners, for those who don't know, like general partners is where, you have a group that represents, they take on a lot of liability. They sign the debt, they raise capital, they run day to day, they do the asset management. And then the limited partner, the LP, they just, invest cash, go along for the ride, and check in once a month or once a quarter. Whereas a JV partner, you had like 30 JV partners on this deal, and everybody's involved, whereas this 650 unit, not the same. Like, which one do you like better, structure-wise, and why?
I don't know that I like one better than the other. They both kind of have their place. I like the LP. Because you just kind of sit back and you just let it roll in. But if you really want to scale and increase your cash flow, you kind of got to be a little more active. So you got to be on the GP side or be a JV, where you're kind of cutting out some of the extraneous expenses or outflow of cash that's going to things besides the partners. This JV deal is great. Everybody's a partner based on what your contribution was cash wise is what your percentage of ownership is in the building. So the other thing is we had not done a JV deal before, so it's been a good learning experience for us. So we like that.
Nice. So with these deals you're doing now, are you more a GP now? Are you more LP? Are you the KP, like key principal?
So we're with that Alaska deal, because it was a 1031 exchange. You have to do a tenants in common. So normally it would have been just the principal person in the JV with his LLC, and then everybody else kind of fell underneath it. So we have the LLC that is the property, but it's actually two other LLCs that own it. Our TIC, Tenants in Common LLC, that owns our percentage of it, and then the other LLC that all the rest of the JV partners fall into. Because we also came in with the 1031, we also have to be a signer on the note as well. So we're KPs on the deal, along with the individuals who are KPs from the other LLC.
Nice. So, is there any particular way you structure deals? Like, do you do your deals the same way all the time, or apparently not? Because I mean, you got the JV and then you got this KP. But like, what is you? Are you doing 70-30, 50-50? Is it pref? Like,
So when I underwrite, I try to take each deal separate. I know that there's lots of different little levers that you can pull, and that's one of the big key things that with underwriting is that the basics of it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just math, but where the key really comes in is knowing kind of what right looks like. It's the finer points in the underwriting that really make a difference in the profitability of a property. You got to understand, number one, your investor base and what they're looking for. You might have some people that like, oh, I'm okay, I want cash flow. You might have others that they're okay with, they just want the equity and they just want to get their big chunk at the end.
So you saying it's dealing more with what the investor needs. So like it is about the deal, but the structure is really more about the investor.
What I'm saying is you need to think about the people that you are going to probably get to invest in the deal. Fortunately, we have a couple different, because like I said, we're in a couple different groups. So we have a couple different people that do capital raising, and they obviously have different little avatars of who they go after and such. But the biggest thing for us is making sure that when we're doing the underwriting, that number one, I'm fairly conservative, and I kind of learned that from you guys. I would rather come in ahead of schedule and under budget, and maybe pass up a deal that maybe I could have made it work, but then again, maybe not. So I'm a little bit conservative in my underwriting and doing my assessments of the property. And then I'm going to sit and really look real hard at the neighborhood that it's in, the city that it's in, the community. When I'm doing my own searching for stuff, right now I'm focusing on the Midwest, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cincinnati, Fort Wayne. Those are the cities I like. I kind of shied away from the Gulf Coast after insurance rates went through the roof. And I feel like some of the rents in the Midwest, during COVID, a lot of areas, their rent just went sky high, and now it's kind of plateaued, and it's not really going up enough anymore because they got to play some catch up with some of those areas. Some of those cities in the Midwest didn't really have that problem. They just kind of stayed on a nice, steady little incline. They're also, the economies are going really well there. The incomes are really good there. They got a good economic base. So I'm real familiar with the population demographics, crime, kind of the legal situation with, is it landlord friendly or tenant friendly? And then understanding, people don't think about financing options when they're looking at a city. If you're in a smaller town, you're probably going to get a little bit different kind of financing rules than you might get in a bigger town.
Really? What kind of rules are you thinking?
Well, I think the amount of risk that somebody might want to take with it, maybe if you're dealing with small, local banks and stuff, the amount of risk they might want to take versus, somebody that's in a much bigger area. And then, definitely understanding FHA, Freddie, Fannie, private equity, and then looking at the splits and the prefs. Once again, that's going to kind of be deal specific. I like to kind of just lay everything out with just a basic template and then start pulling and seeing, okay, is a refi at year 2 or should I skip the refi? What does it cost? What if I do 70-30? Well, what if I do 60-40 with maybe 8% versus 7% pref, and just start looking at those numbers and seeing over time, not only what am I going to make, but what does it look like to the investors year to year that might be more enticing to them. I also think about, go ahead.
No, so what do you think? What do you think is the biggest difference between single family and multifamily? Like, what's the hurdle to make that jump? Because a lot of people want to scale up, and it seemed like you jumped out the gate like the horse, the kangaroo, like literally from 8 to 13 units. Now you're up to 650, and like, what was that hurdle like? Like, what are you going to tell people? Like, look, I did this, and this is what you can do to do better.
Number one, like I said before, it is understanding it's a team sport. With the single family, you can manage all that stuff. It's not that hard to find you a tenant and, make sure the grass stays mowed. And then, when somebody moves out, get somebody to paint or fix whatever. But when you got a whole bunch of properties in a bunch of different locations that aren't, 2 miles from where you live, it's a little bit different. So having the right team, around you, people that know stuff, these people are really good at asset management. These people are really good with finance. These people, they know the construction. This guy here knows how to underwrite. This guy here, he's been operating stuff for years. So he kind of has got a lot of the battle scars on him. So having that little team around you, that's the biggest lead. Build that team. It's so important.
So the team was your key from scaling up, and so between them, they helped you raise money. That some people found deals. Like, everybody thinks that they need to do everything themselves. Like, I think that's one of the most challenging things. Like, no, man, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my team. Like, yeah, came up with the idea, but I had to reach out to other people.
Right.
Like, what are some ways that you can meet this new team? Like, how did you network into these groups?
Starting with a group, there's still folks in your group that I talk to all the time that I interact with, getting to know them, and then sometimes you meet other people through them. Going into other groups, even if it's just a Facebook group, and communicating with people, talking to people, commenting on posts, reaching out and going, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this, and reaching out and touching.
So, like, that's kind of because this social media is a little different. Like, how do you connect? And social media is really nothing but having conversations, right? It's getting to know each one and knowing everybody. So I do notice, like, I comment and talk to people. The more I talk to people or I respond, the more people will follow, or the more we have more conversations about deals. What are some ways to network through these Facebook groups?
You know what? You need to be diligent. And I'm not diligent enough about it. My wife Teresa, she's real good with that stuff. I'm not as diligent with it as I ought to be, but it's building kind of building your brand. I'm not trying to be a brand. I'm not trying to be Coca-Cola or IBM or something, but being out there enough and commenting on or putting out content enough that people look at that, and after a while they start to recognize your name. And you start to build some of that no trust. But you got to make sure you're putting out quality content that's got some value to them, and it's got to resonate with them in some fashion. The other side of that is if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, I'm big on doing proper due diligence on a property, but you know what? You better do proper due diligence on your partners too. Ooh. You need to, like I said, know, like, and trust them. Because getting in a deal with a bad partner, that's not a good thing.
That ain't fun.
So part of that is trying to be a little more be real. When you're posting things, or if you're doing little videos and stuff, be yourself. because that's who you are, and that's who's going to get you down the road. Because if you act a certain way, and then when people meet you, that's not how you are. They're not going to trust you. You need to, like say, open your kimono, man, and hey, this is me. This is how I am, and people will either like you or they won't. But the ones that'll like you, those will be the ones that'll be good, solid people for you.
That's right. Hey guys, if you like what you're listening to, hey, just go right now, smash the like button, share this podcast with some of your friends or family who you think will benefit from this. We got my man Tom. Like I said, he's sharing all the different deals that he's been doing, and so Tom, what really made you choose real estate? Like you were in the military, your wife was an anesthesiologist, she left the job. Like, did you already know that real estate was the path? Like, how did what made you choose real estate and then start leaving the jobs?
I really had not until about the time I met Teresa in 2019 ish. I really had not given any thought to real estate as a way to. It just wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse, or wasn't really in my thoughts. And I got to give 100% of the credit to Teresa for kind of bringing it, educating me about it and showing me, hey, here's the values of it and here's what it can do for you. And then, I started helping her with some stuff. And then after we got married, dealing more with the finances of it and looking at it and going like, oh, hey, you know what, this is pretty good. And I'm a spreadsheet guy. I love a good spreadsheet. That's why, underwriting is my thing. And sitting there and laying out, what did you put into it? What's it costing you? Thinking about insurance and maintenance and repairs, and looking at it over time with the amount of money you have. What kind of return are you getting on this? And you look at it and you think about the equity and stuff like, wow, that's actually pretty good. That's why after I look at it that hard, it's like, man, I don't like the grind of it, but look at this, look at cell C32 over here, and it tells you what kind of a return you're getting on that. It's like, where else am I going to get that?
That's pretty nice, man. So
Yeah.
tell me, you're still working full time.
Yep.
And then you've been doing apartments. You did the storage. Like, what made you choose storage? Like, because that's a whole different lane, right? Like, that's going from managing to not managing. Like, tell me the difference. What do you like most so far? And we're going to get into RVs because I want to hear that too. But you got single family, you got multifamily, you got storage units, and you got RV.
And a shopping center.
And a shopping. Okay, now you're just balling out of control. What is it that tell me about? What is it that you like most, and what made you choose this? Tell me about storage facility. Like, I want to know about that.
I gotta say, I'm real hot on the self-storage right now. And that really just came about because through just the networking and being in these groups and talking to people, we hooked up with this guy that has a company. And one of his partners lives, like an hour from here. And he's in Texas, that they go buy mom and pop self-storage places. They fix them up, do some value add and stuff, and they're really good, very efficient operators, and they get really good returns. One of the things that really got me thinking about it was I looked at the returns, and based on some of his past deals, the money that he usually keeps them about 5 to 7 years. But at year 2, he does a refi, and he gives you back. In the past, he's been able to give back, in most cases, 100% of the money that you put into it in the first place.
Oh, wow.
But you maintain your equity for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, however long he keeps it.
Well, I like them deals.
So it's the velocity of that capital. You're able to take that money and put it somewhere else and have it start working for you elsewhere, while it's actually still kind of working for you over here. And so we really like that. I also, as an underwriter, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's less complex. Even operationally, it's less complex. They're fairly easy and inexpensive to build. I mean, it's a concrete
On
slab
a
and a steel
storage
building.
facility, like how many people do you need working a day versus an apartment? I mean, every 100 units, you got at least a property manager. You may
And
have a
maintenance
leasing
guy.
manager and at least a maintenance guy. So you at least got 3 guys, maybe 4, because you'll have another maintenance guy for every
Mm-hmm.
100, and then you're going to need some contractors to do turnovers, right? So I mean, technically, you can have, I don't know, 10, 12 people working for you on a 100 unit at any given time. But a storage facility, like, how many people you need on site?
A lot of them are automated. You don't have anybody on site. It's an
Really?
automated gate with a keypad. You have somebody that shows up maybe once, twice a week, just kind of takes a look around the place, does a little cleaning up. You bring your own lock. You manage it from remotely. You just go on the computer and put in the person's name. The money comes to you remotely.
Wow.
You give them an access code that gets them to open the gate and shut the gate. It's got cameras.
Wow. What
It
now?
keeps the overhead way down.
Now, what kind of cap rate does those sell at? Do they, I know every location is different, but like, do they say at lower cap rates or high? Are they in the tens, or are they more like 6 caps? Or
They're between 6 and 10 for the most part, and a lot of it, once again, it's location dependent. But they're close to, I would say, close to in line with what you might see with some of the multifamily in 7, 8, 9 range.
and then what are your margins on those? Like, is it like apartment? You kind of got a 50-50 NOI. Hotels are more like 30, 20 to 40% NOI. Like a storage facility, what is that?
Storage, you want to run around 35% expense ratio.
Now, when you say 35%, is that meaning
Your
you're gonna have
expenses are 35% of your income.
So you're saying these could net like 60% or
Yeah, they can. Yeah,
55%? Yeah.
yeah. But
Oh wow.
remember the rents are going to be a lot lower. It's not like you're getting $1,200 a month. You might be getting $900 or $90 for a unit every month, or
Okay.
depending on where it is, 80, 90, 100, 120, 130. But it's the volume,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
might
yeah.
have 200 units in one location.
Oh wow. That's amazing. Now, tell me about the RVs.
So RVs are something I saw that one. I went camping as a kid, so my parents took me around a lot of places. I had an RV for a number of years when I was my adult years, so I've always enjoyed it. And I understand and know what's good in an RV park and what isn't. This one came about once again through a group. Um, it was really all about the returns.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it, and the guy had a proven record of operating places. I liked the returns, so we jumped in on it.
Nice.
So I've started to get more into, as the underwriter, I got really good with the multifamily, and now I'm getting really good with the self storage, and I'm trying to kind of take the next little step and get really good with the RV parks and understand them. I'm still kind of learning a little bit on the RV parks for the underwriting, but I'm getting there.
Got it. What attracted to you? Like, what kind of returns are you making, like, or projected to make? Is it like a 8% cash on cash? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 4? And then you waiting on the sale? Like, what kind of returns can you expect for an RV versus a storage facility? But the great thing, it sounds like your guy's getting you all your money back
Mm-hmm.
once you get, so like, that's a ridiculous return.
Yeah. So some of the storage units are doing, over 20% on IRR. The cash on cash gets a little hard to calculate, because by year 2, if you're giving it back, you've got no real basis
Yeah, you
in the
got
out years.
infinite. You You turn into
Right.
infinite. That's why it's sick, man.
Exactly. So what I really like it to look at though is kind of the equity multiple of, what did I put in it and over time. And once again, when I set something up, I set it up on a basic template, of like right now on a multifamily at 7.5% interest, 30 years, 2 years IO, and sell it at year 5. Because at year 5, I want to see at least an 18% IRR, at least an 8% cash on cash, and at least a 2x equity multiple. Because if you can double your money every 5 years, most investors are going to be okay with that. So that's one of the big things I look at is that equity multiple.
Now, I heard you say, like to 2x every 5 years. Is that kind of standard? Most investors want to double their money in 5 years.
I would think most would want to double it every 5 or 6 years. That's a reasonable return. And that's what I would expect. That's what I want to deliver. I don't see the purpose of investing in something if you're not going to make at least that, because there's too many opportunities out there to do that.
Now, what would you think if you had the deal didn't go as well? Like, what's a bad deal? What would you think is a bad deal for you?
Well, you don't know what you don't know. I've been fortunate so far that I haven't really been involved in any bad deals. I've got some that aren't going as well as we would have hoped. But you do enough deals, you're going to get a few of those. Mm-hmm. So it's really about, okay, what's not going right with it? Mm-hmm. What can we do to change the trajectory that it's on? Whether it's getting more personally involved, as asset managers, getting more into the business of the property manager, or helping them find tenants, or physically going out there and cleaning up the property, or whatever it takes. You just have to realize or identify and recognize what the issue is and what its root cause is, and try to fix that. And move forward. Now, there's things you can't fix, like, these people that got bridge loans 2 years ago and thought they'd be refinancing at 4% or something. Some things you can't fix. So, fortunately, I've not been part of that. Well,
let me ask you this, Tom. So, hey, that's echoing on me. Oh, so let's say you didn't hit the 2x. What if it averaged out that you made like 8 to 10% a year for 4 years? So you make 40, 50% on your money. Is that bad? Is that good? Like, what?
Well, I mean, it's not good. It's, you could do better elsewhere. I think the biggest thing is you have to communicate with your investors, the good and the bad. It's real easy to tell them, hey, you know what, we're ahead of schedule. And it's real hard to sit there and tell them, hey, you know what, things aren't going good. But you got to do that, because if you want to maintain your reputation, is everything in this business. It only takes, one crap to mess up 10 attaboys. So you've got to work real hard to maintain that reputation. And even if you have a deal that goes south, and I've known some people that have had this, and they were able to overcome it because they were upfront and they communicated and talked to their investors about it. And said, hey, here's the problem, and here's what we're trying to do to fix it. And, we appreciate you bearing with us and stuff.
Nice.
I think that's critical.
No, communication is everything. I think that makes a big difference when they going in and they're not blindsided,
right.
Sharing all that different information. Look, you've done a lot, man. Have you felt like quitting? Like, is that something?
I don't think I've ever really felt like quitting. I've felt frustrated or sometimes overwhelmed at times, but I don't have quit in me. I don't. Some people might. I don't. So to me, it's just, okay, sometimes you need to take a minute and refocus yourself and look at what you're doing. And think about and talk to people. Am I doing this right? That's the other thing is it's good to have this little network of people that you can talk to when you're having issues, or people that are going to help lift you up when maybe you're, I've been looking at deals for weeks and weeks and I haven't found anything. And, it can get, a year ago, it was rough to find a deal. It can get frustrating. And you just need people around you to help kind of lift you up and keep that positive attitude that, nothing good is easy usually.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge. So now you've done 4. They seem to be doing all right. What do you think you're going to look more into now? Like, because we didn't, well, you know what? We didn't really get into the RV park. Like you said you were camping, but are you doing that as a limited partner, or like you're taking an
LP in that one?
Okay.
But I'm currently looking into one, doing some underwriting on it where I will, if it goes through, I'll be a GP.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then, is there a certain size of an RV park that makes it worth it? Or
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's like a multifamily. It's a different way of managing, and it's about scale. Whether it's 30 spaces or 250 spaces, it's about scale, and just understanding the different needs that you will have with a smaller one versus a bigger one, and that's part of that. The finer points of doing the underwriting, understanding those differences.
nice. Now, so you got the wife. She took the job. She left the job first. Are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
How's she
We won't have to
enjoying
eat
this
ramen
time?
forever.
Huh?
We won't have to eat ramen forever.
There you go. No, but I mean, how was that when you finally was like, man, hey, you can take off now? Like, what was that like?
Well, it's pretty liberating to her, I think. I mean, she still works some as a 1099, but I think it's been fairly liberating for her. It's been less stressful. What she does, it has a fair amount of stress to it, and it's not just the patients and stuff. It's healthcare in general can be a stressful environment, and it's been better for her. She's happier. She's kind of able to do what she wants and where she wants. She doesn't have to get sent to a place she doesn't like to go work because maybe she doesn't like the doctors or something. She has a little more choice of what she wants to do. And so that's been good for her. I'm fortunate with my W-2 is I love my job.
Really?
I
Okay.
really do. I'm good at it. I've figured it out, and I've started picking up a little extra responsibility there, and they pay me pretty well. So I'm happy there. But you know what? It's a job. It's not a career. At some point in time, I will go a different direction. But for now, I'm very happy there, doing what I do. They're fairly flexible with my schedule and my hours. I'm able to work 10-hour days. So that works out well. It gives me like Fridays to do stuff, meet people, talk to people. So it's been good.
So what is that number that will, like, you will stop working at? Like, you keep investing, which is great, but what's going to make you stop, and what's enough? Like, I know I ask people and they just keep buying. Like Mike, they asked me, Mike, when you going to stop buying? I was like, I don't know. I whenever I see a deal and it's good, I'm a rock with it. What about you?
I don't know that there's a number. We're looking to focus a lot more of our efforts we're real happy with the amount of LP and the other stuff that we've got. So not as interested in doing as much of that. We want to do more of the GP or JV type of stuff now, and get into that through either finding the deals or underwriting or asset management or EMD or raising capital, those kinds of things. So that's the focus. I don't know where that number is or how many units it is that we need to get there. I'm sure I will have I already do have a spreadsheet that'll tell me, When is this amount of money, and how predictable is it going to be to get us to, we want to have this amount of money coming in per year. Um, when that number hits, that might be the point in time.
What so Tom, you took our class. What did you get out of that? Like, how has that benefited you, and what has it done for you to help you get to the next level?
Well, it was, first of all, it was a good um, 101. Learning the basics. That is the biggest, one of the big things I got from you guys. Learning the basics, learning the terminology, learning the different aspects of doing the commercial real estate investing, learning what it takes in these different areas. Because like I said, you need to understand and know all those things if you're going to talk to people about it, whether you're an underwriter or a capital raiser or an asset manager. You kind of need to understand how these pieces fit together and how they work together. That's why I say you need to be waist deep on that stuff, and then have your little specialized area. The stuff I learned from you guys was, hey, here's what these different things are. I pretty much already knew that, I was probably going to go down the route of like underwriting and stuff like that, just because that's what I've done for 20 years in my career. And I enjoy it and I like it. But it taught me those other things. And I have a tremendous amount of appreciation. I still go back and look at the slides sometimes and go, oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So we're going into a new year, 2024. What is your goals there? What are your plans?
So I would like to, in 2024, like I said, more interested in GP than LP, get more into EMD, underwriting, due diligence, asset management, capital raising. And I'd like to be in at least, as a GP, at least 100 additional doors in 2024.
Nice.
At least 100.
Hey, Kobe, check in there. We got a couple of questions there. We're going to answer a few, see if there's a couple of questions. Everybody tell us where you're checking from in the Q&A. Click the Q&A. There you go. And then we'll go from there. So, that was that. Okay. So, hey, guys, look, this was amazing time. I appreciate it. Tom, if somebody wants to reach out to you, how they get in touch with you, brother?
So you can reach me at our website, which is Alliance Acquisitions is our company, but it's allianceacq.com, or info@allianceacq.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook, just Tom Riverbank. You can see some of my posts in Mike's space there, or some other different groups out there. I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach me there.
Nice. And so before we got out, what advice do you have for a beginner?
Okay, so the biggest thing is, number one, understand it's a team sport. Get in there and learn about the different things the different aspects of this, so that you can figure out what it is that you like or you have the biggest interest in, or the most where you think you could excel the best, and then learn as much as you can about that. Put yourself in there deep. Always be looking, learning, reading, trying to hear things. Subscribe to all kinds of little groups on Facebook or wherever, so you can get these little reports on rent reports on this city or trends in this city. I was just looking at something while I was waiting for this thing about how rents are still, in terms of inflation of all the different stuff, inflation's now down to about 3%, but rents are still on average about 6.9% per year going up. There's probably several markets driving that, but just knowing these things, immerse yourself in that stuff, build your networks, find you some people you like, that you know, that you trust. And then people that you can reach out to, find those people that'll help lift you up and educate you, bring them something, they bring you something. That's the biggest thing.
Nice, man. Well, look, that's our time, guys. Look, I really enjoyed this. I hope this information is really useful for you guys. Again, if you like this information, smash the thumbs up, send the hearts out. But as always, guys, God bless you. God keep you. May God bless you beyond your belief, but not your capacity. And remember, you're one big deal. Peace.
And I'm clocking out, been working hard, I'ma hit the town. I'm at the beach when I'm in the house. I set the seeds when I'm on the couch. Got sunshine in the bottle every time I take a swallow. Like I'm taking a vacation, feeling like I hit the lotto. Whoa, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm the star of the show. Got that special glow, and you know, yeah. Whoa, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm the star of the show. Got that special glow, yeah. Everything's a holiday. We gon' get this place poppin', we gon' celebrate. Yeah, this water's so blue, I'ma catch a wave. Yeah, I'm in the best mood, give me something great. You know that I feel good. Doing things I never thought I could. Smiling in the mirror, I look good. Like I should. I feel brand spanking new. I don't know about you, I feel good. Aiming for #1, yeah, I'm a chart topper. I'm hitting home runs. I'm such a showstopper, shining like a diamond. Blessings right on the horizon. Only see that silver lining. Yeah, this must be perfect timing. Good energy, always taking over me. When we get together, we just make the best memories. I can feel that energy, always taking over me. No one does it better. We just make the best. You know that.